the Middle East negotiator, Aaron David Miller for his thoughts on things. Aaron, good to see you today, and it's always good to get your expertise on these things. But what's your assessment so far? I mean, we do have this breaking news from Donald Trump, which provides extra insight to what might happen from now on. But what's your initial assessment of those Iranian strikes overnight?
I mean, people were waiting to see whether or not the Iranians would try, the supreme leader, who had not issued a statement until recently, whether he would calibrate his response in an effort to avoid a dramatic escalation, because I think the administration was prepared to strike disproportionately if Iran struck American bases, killed Americans, either in terrorist operations or attacked their bases in Iraq, in the Gulf, or in Syria. So this was not the full front-on attack that people in Washington feared and hoped to avoid. It was a bid for de-escalation. But I think we have to be extremely realistic about what lies ahead. The Iranian parliament today apparently took the first steps toward severing contacts with the IAEA. And if that happens, then there'll be no eyes and ears on Iran's nuclear program going forward. I think the supreme leader made a decision that regime stabilization and survival was much more important right now, and to court a massive retaliation by the United States and Israel could have fractured the regime, left it unstable, and even threatened succession. But the Iranians will live to fight another day. I think that's my takeaway from all of this. Regime stability, continuation, and an effort to reconstruct the nuclear program over time. They're going to have to be smart about it and discreet and highly non-transparent. But I think those around the supreme leader and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps probably have drawn the conclusion that the only hedge against Israeli and American military intervention is a nuclear weapon.
How much do you think their nuclear program has been set back?
I mean, it's hard to say. Grossi of the IAEA said extremely significant damage. The president 2 days ago said it had been totally obliterated. I doubt that.
Well, he said that again today
sites,
as well.
Yeah, there are undeclared sites that we don't know about. What happened to the 800 pounds of fissile highly enriched uranium, which they had stored at Isfahan? Was that taken out before the Israeli strikes? Or did the Iranians somehow manage to salvage it before American Tomahawk missiles destroyed much of that facility in the last 48 hours? So they have the capacity. They've got all the elements that they need. It's a nuclear weapons threshold state. I think, as a practical matter, I think we're talking about at least 2 years and probably more.
So if these bunker busters and the bombs, and there was so much made of their power and that they'd be able to wipe things out, if they haven't been able to do that, is there any weapon out there that could wipe out Iran's nuclear program?
No, because look, if you want to end Iran's nuclear program, you have to change the character of a regime that over the last 20 years, and remember, most aspiring nuclear states, the 8 that actually have nuclear weapons, get them relatively quickly. The Iranians have been trying to get a nuclear weapon for 20 years. It tells you something about the fine line between being a screwdriver's turn away from a nuclear weapon and actually weaponizing. If you want to end the program, you got to change the regime. Or as George W. Bush did in 2003, you have to basically deploy hundreds of thousands of American forces in Iraq and depose the regime and try to hopefully create an opening for an alternative. So no, this at best, and I don't want to trivialize the significance of what's happened here, but at best it's a delay. How long and under what circumstances the Iranians can actually restructure their program, it's unclear. And that brings me to the issue, one additional point, which is the divergence of objectives between the U.S. and Israel here. And I think we're going to be watching very, very carefully, I think, to see exactly how the Israelis respond to this de-escalation, because there's no doubt the prime minister would aspire to regime change. And the targets they were hitting today, including Ivan prison, including the headquarters of the Basij, those forces that are deployed to quash domestic unrest, suggests to me that the Israelis are interested in far more than simply delaying or destroying Iran's nuclear program.
All right. Aaron, it's always good to talk to you. Thank you so much. We'll chat again soon.